Hello, everyone, and good day. I am Christine Ann Alvarez from Group C, and today I'll be discussing the traditional radio as part of Module 16, the Internet Radio. But before that, here are the objectives of Module 16, the Internet Radio. By the end of this module, you should be able to describe the totality of the radio industry and discuss the basic principles of broadcasting via the Internet Radio. Now, let's get started with the traditional radio. With the emergence of modern information and communication technologies, or ICT, and as we live in the digital age, one may ask, what is the future of the traditional radio? In 2022, Kantar, which is a data insights and consulting company, released a global study focusing on the consumer behavior and what it says about the future of media. They also released a study or a report called Radio and Its Relevance Today, which focused on three metros: Metro Manila, Metro Cebu, and Metro Davao, and the changes in radio consumption that have been observed in each one. For this, I quote: For Mega Manila, the year 2021 saw the continuation of a steep drop in radio ratings from the past 4 years. While it's not unusual for any radio station to gain and lose listeners for a variety of reasons, such as promotion or competition within the medium, this significant drop in total radio must also be viewed in the bigger context of ABS-CBN's teleradio and MOR living broadcast. Additionally, they also viewed where do people or the audiences are listening to radio nowadays. According to Kantar, in the past 4 years, they have shown a decline in access to radio broadcasts via traditional radio sets. On the other hand, though, the last 4 years have also shown a steady rise in the use of appliances with built in radio tuners. So, aside from the technologies available uh, to listen to radio, there's also a context or the political context that we are in that we have to consider given the steep drop in the radio ratings in the past years. In a data report by We Are Social and Meltwater, you can also see the time spent listening by Filipinos to broadcast radio, which is less than an hour or exactly 44 minutes. This is even less with the previous data report by the same companies, wherein mas nabawasan pa ng 7 minutes. And comparing to other platforms, Filipinos spent the least time or yung pinaka maikling time for this platform or broadcast radio. On the other hand, data gathered by Statista shows that in the Philippines, traditional radio remains a vital source of news and entertainment, fostering community engagement amid the rise of digital age. It is expected that in 2029, there will be an estimate of 49.5 million users of this platform. But what is happening right now, no? In order to adapt in the changes in the digital age or brought by the digital age, radio stations are now maximizing the internet by streaming their live broadcasts, given that it's relatively inexpensive and it allows them to explore additional features such as podcasts, short videos, and more. And balikan natin yung data kanina na pakita. No? So, on average, Filipinos spend um, almost one third of their day using the internet. So as you can see here, time spent using the internet is more than 8 hours. And for other platforms such as podcasts, mas mahaba siya compared to broadcast radio. And here it says na 51 minutes yung oras na ginugugol ng mga Pilipino listening to podcast. So that only shows how the shift in or transition the transition of traditional radio to other features or formats for their traditional radio broadcast. Also, nakikita natin na may mga traditional radio na talagang mirrored na or kasabay ng kanilang radio broadcast is yung live broadcast that can be viewed on their social media accounts such as YouTube, Facebook, and as you can see on your screens, we have DCBB and 90.7 Love Radio utilizing these platforms. Also, new additional formats such as podcasts allow traditional radio to extend their advertising space. Aside from mas konti yung commercial sa platform na ito compared to traditional radio, mas madali ma-measure yung magiging outcomes ng mga advertisement na to. Given that we have existing tools na magagamit to measure this, yung reach, engagement, whether the target audiences have been have clicked the link on specific websites and all. So, ayan. Some notable traditional radio or even television stations that have their own podcasts are shown on your screen. So we have ABS-CBN News Flash, Barangay LS 96.3 Legazpi, Radio Novela, na dati na papakinggan lang natin sa radio, no? Ngayon pwede nating balik-balikan with podcast. We also have Monster 9, RX 93.1, The Morning Rush, and GMA Integrated News Philippines Today. But aside from shifting to live broadcasts and podcasts, social media is also something that traditional radio can use to grow their network, their reach, and the engagement of their audiences. They can establish their identity and brands in different social media platforms in order to grow their audiences or network. Moreover, it allows audiences to interact and connect with the radio broadcasters through such platforms. An example of this is how Teleradio Servicio, which is formerly DZMM Radio Patrol sa Isenta, uses platforms such as YouTube, Facebook for the live broadcast, and if we zoom in, you can see that they also maximize platforms or social media platforms such as Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, and TikTok. But aside from showing their live streams or broadcasts, they also use their platforms to connect through their audiences by posting interactive content like the ones shown on the screen. Their schedule of the broadcast, um, art cards featuring the news that they will share on their shows, and even countdowns to Christmas and mundane updates na pwede makarelate yung kanilang audiences. And as mentioned earlier, social media can also be utilized by radio broadcasters or hosts so they can personally interact with their listeners or audiences. They can create vlogs, blogs, share their photos and videos about their life that people can relate to. This can also be a platform for them to receive live feedback from their audiences as well. So kunwari sa Instagram, they can ask if they can ask their audiences if they have questions that they can answer during their show or their radio program. And yeah, basically they are maximizing the features of the social media platforms that are already existing. But just like any other platform, there are also barriers or challenges in using such platform. First is the licensing of content. Given that traditional radio has to overcome this challenge, giving you strict policies, yung licensing, and even yung copywriting ng materials sa mga music na ginagamit nila, and yung information na sinasabi din nila. The second one is building a community, which I personally think is it's just a minor challenge, assuming that traditional radio have their base listeners already. What they need to do really is to promote yung kanilang platforms, whether it's a podcast or social media platforms in the traditional radio, where their base listeners are listening. So before I end my presentation, I will leave you two discussion forum questions as seen on your screen. And here are my references for this presentation. And that's it. Thank you for listening. Let's keep in touch. I am Christine Alvarez from Group C. Thank you.